Dabbed in Ink presents.
Warning. The Hear It in Horror podcast is a review podcast that is full of spoilers of the first few episodes of the shows that we discuss. If you do not like spoilers, please pause and go listen to the show. We announce ahead of time what show is discussed in the next episode, or you can check it out in the show notes. We'll be here when you're done.
Hello! Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Hear It in Horror podcast, where we dive into the depths of horror audio to tell you if it's worth your nightmares. What we heard this week is episode 1 and 2 of Ghost Wax. This is a Far and Tall Tales production that was first released in October of 2022. It's an anthology series that follows Owen Vonsed, the last reclaimer, a person who is able to wake the dead and hear their tales. Season 1 is still going with almost 50 episodes at the time that we are recording. So let's see how the panel responds in this week's episode of Hear It in Horror. So overall thoughts, I have a fun fact this time, so let's see. This person still hasn't forgiven the moon for what happened in 2003. Who is it? I'm going to guess Alante.
I'm going to guess Clay, actually.
I'm going to guess me too.
So it was Clay.
It wasn't you, damn it. Was it Jessica?
I mean, it could be.
No, it is Clay.
Yeah.
Oh. He knows.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, it's totally me.
What did the
All right,
moon
Clay.
do in
What did the
2003?
You?
We need the story.
So, you got to think about when this was. We were between the Millennium Crisis and the Aztec calendar. For some reason, the news... Now, blood moons have happened forever. The term's been around for a very long time. But for some reason, no one seemed to notice that the news ran with the blood moon for that year. And so all the religious people, remember I live in Texas, remembered the Book of Revelation and thought, this is the end times! And lost their mind. They were waiting for trumpets to sound. Jesus was coming back. It was a big deal, all because of a very nice lunar eclipse. And it was horrible.
Was this their first time going outside at night?
Seeing as how they're scared of everything spooky, yeah, probably, actually. Like, if it's not a midnight mass, I don't think they've ever gone outside at night.
Is Midnight Mass a real thing?
It is a real thing. We do it twice a year, at least. Yeah.
Wow. Just wow.
But yeah, that's what it is. It caused the religious fanatics to lose their mind, and I still haven't forgiven the moon for that.
Darn you, moon!
Alrighty, Clay, so then give us your overall thoughts.
Of Ghost Wax, I really enjoyed it. Now, of course, people are going to listen to it and go, this sounds a lot like Magnus Archives, a similar theme. You have your Monster of the Week, you have some form of ordering thing, and it tickled me just right for that, actually. I think this is going to be one this is one of the first ones the first one we've done where I haven't listened already to the entire thing.
What?
I know, right? I came at this the same day y'all did, but it's on my list, and I'm going to ride this out because it tickled a lot of funny bones for me.
I had to go deep digging to see what he hadn't.
Seriously. Damn it.
Alrighty. Alante, go ahead.
Yeah, because I was hoping that you listened further so I could, pick your brain on the evolution of everything. But
We've gotten so spoiled.
I know.
Today, yeah.
On a scale of no pickle to pickle,
a wonderfully binary scale.
I give this Thousand Island dressing.
Which is
Okay,
vinegary?
I had to hold back some swear
What
words
do you think it
just
was
then.
gonna be?
What the hell do you mean?
Okay, so it's just kind of in between for me. Depending on the dressing, I hate it, and sometimes I can tolerate it. So it's just okay. There's a bit of intrigue that we'll talk about that I wish was amped up. Some of the things go on for a little too long for me. And I think I am learning that personally the monologue style doesn't work for me as much. So I kind of already had that bias going in. So it's not pickle, no pickle, just Thousand Island dressing.
Okay, so now we have our median. It's Thousand Island dressing.
We'll have to make sure Izzy knows this. Oh, by the way, for those listening, sadly Izzy is not here today, so she will be caught up on our new grading scale.
They.
Yeah, we'll.
They will be up.
My apologies, Izzy. I apologize.
Yeah. So I thought it's an interesting way to do an anthology without being an anthology per se, because clearly you have to address what the what's a good word for it? I don't want to say gimmick, because it's not a gimmick. It's like the theming of the show. The theming of the show, where it is we are speaking to the dead personally, and so the dead have to know that they're dead. So this isn't something where it's like I can just take submissions of stories where people die and then work it into the dialogue, because it feels like these stories have to be written for the show. So it's interesting to have, like you said, sort of a monster a week thing where we're getting different voice actors, different situations every week. So sort of an anthology, but there's still this overarching theme that, and we're getting fun little hints that we can talk about later, that there's foolery about. We love foolery. So I'm interested. I'm interested to see where it goes. And you said there's 50 episodes?
Almost 50. There's 49 currently
That's
right now.
Wild.
So probably
That
50
is
by the
a
time this
lot.
releases.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, because they're 30 to 40 minutes each. And I've seen a couple of specials as
and
well.
there's specials thrown in.
Alrighty. So those were the overall thoughts. So Jessica, why don't we stay with you real quick? You give us a quick recap.
Yay! Oh my god, it scared my cat!
No, you guys have gotten so hyped for this.
Scared my cat. Okay.
Okay. So we have our reclaimers. There's old man reclaimer Von Sid. And then we have new reclaimer Luca. And old reclaimer Von Sid's like, homie, sit this one out. I got this. There's this dude, Matty G. He's been dead for 3 weeks, but not really, but sort of. All that's left is his goopy head. Well, the head's not goopy. The rest of him is goopy. So we go meet Matthew, and he's just his body has dissolved into the lazy boy, but his head is pristine. Clearly, some sort of supernatural silliness is going on. We're talking to ghosts, so there's supernatural silliness regardless. So he's like, so you want to explain how you became a goopy head? And Matthew, pretty chill for a dead guy. He seems to be taking it pretty well. He's like, so I was sad and lonely and had a miserable life living in this shitty apartment. And we're like,
Same.
relatable, yeah. And he's like, I'm working this job, but I don't have time to do anything. I don't have any friends. And you're like, oh, Matthew.
Preach.
Yeah. So then one night he wakes up, middle of the night, window broken, looks around the room, shadows. One of the shadows, a man. And he's like, there's a man in my room. Hate this. Man notices that he's been seen. Skadoodles out the window, second floor window. Matthew, of course, is like, gotta call the cops. Cops, useless. They're like, you're crying? Your house got broken into and you're crying? Your fault for living in a bad neighborhood. Matthew's like, that's not a cool way to handle this. He's upset. He doesn't want to be in his apartment anymore, but he's got to go to work. So homie needs a shower, because I guess he showers in the morning and sleeps dirty in his bed like a freak.
Oh, damn. Okay.
So he goes.
We agree on that, though.
Wow.
Yeah, please, you're getting oils all over your nice, clean bed. How often are you washing your sheets, my boy? So anyway, he goes to the gym to use the gym shower. And while he's in the gym shower, washing his hair, he notices he has a bald spot. Horrifying. As someone whose hair takes 7 years to grow, that would be me for the rest of my life. I would just have a bald spot. So he's freaked out that the dude who broke into his apartment stole his hair, because that's creepy and weird. So he's screaming and crying in the shower. The gym homies are like, bro, we got you. They embrace him in non-toxic masculinity. They offer to help him secure his apartment better. They're like, we got you, man. And he's like, I have no friends, so this means a lot to me. So yeah, he still doesn't want to be at home or whatever. So he's like, I'm gonna stay with my parents, even though the gym homies helped set me up. Goes to stay with his parents, wakes up in the middle of the night,
to clipping. That's right. The dude who stole his hair is now stealing his toenails.
They call me the Midnight Baba.
So obviously upset about this because, like, that's gross and weird. Who's this guy following him and stealing his bits and pieces? Icky. So then he's like, you know what? I'm just going to take a week off of work. I'm going to take a week off of work. I'm going to be on my way. I'm going to go visit some old friends because, again, sad and lonely. So he goes to visit some friends, but he's like worried about work. So he like calls in to see if any has voicemails. No voicemails. He's like, well, that's not correct. Let me see if I have any emails. He's like, oh, no emails. Wait, I do have emails. They've just all been responded to in the manner that he would respond to them. So anyway, it turns out that while he's been out faffing about, somebody's just been living his life for him. The man who steals his bits. This guy's been like going to dinner with his parents, telling terrible jokes. He's been hanging out with the gym homies. He's been doing great at work. Honestly, I just let the guy like live my life for me. If that's possible. Is my apartment getting paid for? I don't see a problem here. Anyway, he's upset though. So he's like, my dad has a gun. So he takes his dad's gun. He goes to his apartment to square off with like the imposter. The imposter's just like watching his TV shows in the Lazy Boy. And he's like, haha, he shoots him. Imposter, shot. But the man, Matthew, he is in fact the one who is shot. So imposter takes him, slaps him down in the Lazy Boy. He's bleeding out and he's like, why? And the guy's like, keratin, and then clips his fingernails. And then Matthew presumably dies of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And he's like, so that's what happened. And the Reclaimer's like, that's weird and that sucks. Bye.
The end.
Off you go to the abyss. And then afterwards, we get like a little like one-on-one with Reclaimer Von Sid. And he's like, yeah, so he talks, like, you get some, like, lore going on. You get I probably wrote down what he was saying. Yeah, there's, like, he's saying things like the Nameless, the Glorious Order, and then it's starting again. So it's like, so clearly, weirdo mix, steal your fingernails is part of some sort of larger supernatural something that's happening. And that is episode 1.
Okay, so do we want to break it down episode by episode for story? Or hit them kind of together? Because I think, I couldn't tell from the credits, but I think it's all still written by the same person.
Okay.
I think. Just kind of based on kind of how I felt around on the website. But in the credits, it doesn't give any actual credits.
Well, unless we want to, unless there's anything specifically we want to say about episode 1 that does not apply to episode 2.
I think I can hold off on waiting for it. Yeah, I can wait.
Yeah, let's go. Let's talk about episode 2.
All right. Episode 2.
Bechtel test.
Dun, dun, dun.
We are back with Luca, new Reclaimer. He's driving old Reclaimer, Von Sid, to a new case. They found a mummified corpse in an abandoned mall, but the corpse is way more mummified than it should be. And then we get something a little weird before we even get into, like, the meat of the story. Von Sid is, like, an old man who doesn't know how things work, so he's asking about, like, what an urban explorer is or whatever. They're having a little chit-chat, and then his voice does this weird echoey effect, and then he's like, sorry, my bad, anyway, and then just continues talking. So something is weird with Von Sid. Maybe he's somewhat supernatural. Anyway, so then Von Sid meets our new dead person, Jennifer Slaughter. Slaughter being the most interesting part of her because she is also, there's a theme of the victims here. They are sad, they are lonely, also very chill with being dead. She's just like, it was really lame what happened to me, and it
how can we just pause? How is anybody chill with being dead, especially when they know they've been murdered? Like,
I guess because it's been like so long,
I just say, as a millennial, I kind of get it.
She embraced
like,
it, yeah.
It's like, hey, no more bills. I'm not upset with this.
Oh, I get to come back from the dead? I'm thirsty. Can you give me some water?
Oh, yeah,
that
right. She was like,
oh, yeah, didn't he? He was like, yeah, I'll get you some water. I'm like, we can
do that?
hydrate the dead.
Like,
we can.
So are they possessing their own body? Are they possessing some third entity vessel? Like what?
Maybe they're possessing their
really-
body because like the
Are
head
they
of Matthew
possessing
was
the
left.
dude? The dude with the echo voice? Because the echo voice makes it sound like
Oh,
he's
do you think
possessed?
it's coming out of him?
I think so.
Oh, that's
I
Like
don't.
they have to use him as a meat puppet.
Because they're specifically talking about finding the mummy, I think it's actually pure necromancy at this point, just straight raising the dead.
Okay, that's fun. All right.
And then they use the wax cylinders to record what's said?
Yes, because
Kinda,
other
okay.
recording implements don't, record ghosts because they're, spooky ghosts. We can't just be
Electricity
popping
don't
out the
work. Yeah.
camcorders. All right, so Jennifer Slaughter, boring, sad life, no friends again. She's been overlooked her whole life, and she's tired of it. She's having, I think, a birthday coming up. She's like, you know what? New me, new hairstyle, because that's what you do when you're a woman and you're dissatisfied with your life. You do something crazy with your hair. In high school, I dyed my hair a different color like every other week. Terribly sad at that point in my life. Anyway, so she's like, I'm going to go to the mall, which is a choice for getting your hair done at the mall, but, to each their own. She's like, I'm going to find the gayest man to do my hair for me. I'm like, girl,
Direct quote.
Yeah, that's
Can we just for a direct quote? Anyway.
She's like, I'm gonna find the gayest man. I'm gonna have him make me Gwen Stefani. I'm like, what did she do with her hair? Dye it blonde? Anyway,
Blue.
blue.
Did she? Wild.
It was a long time ago, but yes.
Okay, so she's old too, like Clay. Anyway,
Again, millennial death wish. All right, y'all just don't see it from my angle.
Okay. All right. Okay.
so homegirl goes to the salon, and they have like a restaurant system again, where you get like the little buzzer thing when it's time for your appointment. So they're like, "Here's your buzzer," and she's like, "I'm gonna get an orange Julius because I need diabetes." So she goes, she gets her orange Julius, and then she's walking away, sipping on the Julius, and some dude just plows into her. Slush all over her. She's like, you know what? People make mistakes. It's fine. She's expecting homie to be like, oh, sorry. And then, have that be that. He just keeps going. He's just on his way, oblivious. And she's like, well, that was rude. So she goes back to the Orange Julius. She needs napkins. Apparently there are no napkins in the rest of the food court. She needs napkins from the Orange Julius. And then the cashiers, the people working there, ignoring her completely. And she's like, excuse me. I was just here. Can I get a new Julius? Is that what they're called? Do they call them Juliuses? She needs a new slushie. She's getting totally ignored. And then some other people come up, and then the cashiers are responding to them. And she's like, well, that's weird. And she just keeps, people are ignoring her. It's not that they're like being rude. They just literally don't see her. But she's still obviously physically there. But people aren't reacting to her like she's physically there. So she's getting, like, pushed around. Some dude stomps on her hand at one point. She's bleeding out. And then some dude slips in her blood, but doesn't notice that it's blood. So she sees her blood on him, but he's like, whoops, I slipped. So she's upset. She's trying to figure all this out. She's like, all right, she tries to use phones. Phones don't work. She tries to leave the mall, but when she tries to leave the mall, she feels like she's being pushed back. She's getting invisible walled in Assassin's Creed, right? She's like, something's going on here. So she's stuck in the mall at night. She's like, this sucks. My hand hurts because I've been trampled. Nobody sees me, And she's just hanging out. There's a security guard. He doesn't see her either. Big surprise. And then the mannequins start moving. But the even the mannequins can't see her, though, which is so sad. I assumed, like, oh, it's like the mannequins, they're in on it, obviously. Never trust a spooky mannequin. But no, the mannequins can't see her either. So, but they're doing foolery. They're, like, taunting the security guard, luring him in to dismember him. And homegirl's like, people may not be able to see me, but I'm going to risk my life for this security guard. She's not about to let homie have it. So she goes, she's like, no, stop. And then the mannequins who don't know she's there are like, what's going on? One like just backhands backwards, spin move, slashes her throat, right? So again, she's bleeding out, cannot stop the mannequins from murdering the security guard. And then she dies. She just straight up dies from mannequin murder, and nobody knows. And then she was just hanging out there in the mall as a mummified corpse. And I guess eventually whatever was making her invisible uninvisibled her, because her corpse was then found. And then we do our little after notes where he's like, bye girl, and she's like, later, and goes off to the void, I guess. But in the afternotes, I didn't know if it was on purpose or not, but Von Sid refers to her as Jessica. And I'm like, is he forgetting about her too already? Was that like on purpose? Or because like I was like, I had to check. I was like, no, I definitely wrote down Jennifer before, and I'd remember if it was my own name. But yeah. So then that was episode 2.
Okay, so there's lots to unpack here. How about we start with? How about we start with just?
Writing.
Yeah,
Let's
right.
start with the
We're starting
writing.
with the stories for sure, but I'm trying to think. Did you have a preference, episode 1 versus episode 2, which you liked better, and why? Or like, just are there elements throughout both that you're enjoying? Whoever wants to start.
I like the format. I like that we open with the Reclaimers having their little chit chat, because then we get like a little bit more insight into the world we're in, insight into them as characters. And then you have the meat of the episode, which is your dead person being very sad and lonely, but pretty cool with being dead, which I guess if you've been sad and lonely in life, I guess death isn't like too bad. And then you have your like recap at the end where Old Man is like giving you more little lore hints. So I think it's an interesting format. I like that. I'd say the episodes were pretty on par with each other. As far as they had pretty similar sound design, voice acting type situations.
Okay, sticking just to the story, are we feeling like if we had to read this versus listen to it, would we still feel the way we feel?
I think this would be much better read, only in that and this might have been something coming from the director, that like that take of being kind of disaffected, okay with everything, ends up it feeling like a different version of monotonous, like this kind of everything's okay monotonous, which
I have
makes
some
it harder.
very specific thoughts on the voice acting that we can we can get into.
We can get to those in a second. Anything else on the characters and the meat of either episode 1 or 2?
The thing of, okay, so 1 and 2, the things I think my problem is the thing that stands out aren't the meat. It is the beginning and the end.
Okay, yeah. Well, I wanted to just kind of separate those two, but yeah, I feel like there's more questions in the wraparound that are not answered. But I mean, that's kind of by design, right? Like we get so little of each. That's definitely where the intrigue is. Clay, did you want to say you had something?
Yeah, as far as the characters go, like I said, I had fun with this show. Episode 1, the Gym Bros. I love when it's like, because like also the true horror is the Gym Bros made along the way, but it's like, yeah, we'll help you. Like, this guy's messing with you, we'll rough him up, and then like they start to figure out either A, my friend's crazy, or B, he's got a serious stalker, and suddenly it's like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna sit this one out, man. Like it sounds like a you thing. And then episode 2, our girl is trampled upon, her hand is smashed and broken. So she MacGyvers a Band-Aid with her maxi pad, and I'm just on the floor at that point, and just absolutely losing it in the best way possible.
Forgot that.
But yeah, there's some really like genuinely funny moments in the dialogue where I'm like, tee.
It was just something, and I think, okay, so using the word real is always dangerous, but I think like having these reactions to being like, I'm just gonna stay out of this. I'm like, that's the most real thing you can do. Like, yeah, I was gonna help you out till shit sounded weird. Now I'm not gonna help you out anymore. So I liked it for the characters.
I want to pose a question. Do we think this would have been stronger had it been like taken notes from a voice from darkness, where it's like an investigator or a psychologist or something, just adding 2 or 3 kind of like,
and then what
follow-up
happened,
questions.
like
And
that he's talking to them throughout the. I feel like
yeah.
I was aware that I was listening to a story in that regard. You know what I mean? Where it's like, as opposed to like, we know that someone is there talking to them. So I would agree with that, where it would have felt more like within the meta of the show if he had been, because like people, they were so ready. They already they were so ready with their story to just give the whole thing front to back, which is not usually how it works. If someone's like, "Hey, what happened?" You'll be like, "Oh, I guess it started da 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 da," and they'll ask follow-up questions. They'll ask you to elaborate, that sort of thing. So maybe that gets added in. We get more interactions with the Reclaimers and the dead later on. But yeah, I would agree with that. Where I probably would have liked a little bit more interaction with the characters.
And while I agree, I think that would add a lot to it. In my mind, this is a huge leap of assumption. I almost want to feel like it's lore that like he's drawing the ghost and the spirit. They're compelled to both be there and to just share the story. So like he's kickstarted it, and now it's just running its path until he sends them back, to the void. Like again, have nothing based off other than gut feeling, but I'm kind of hoping that's where it's going. It's the same thing too with like the echo in his throat. I'm like, I bet you that deals with who and what he is.
Mystery.
That's exactly what I was going to say, was that I thought it was tied to the necromancy, how he called them back, that was that they're just compelled to do it.
So how does that play out with the dialogue? Is the right word? What do you call it? I just beyond writing,
like interactions.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna say like dialogue or delivery, right? Like, there's also a couple moments where it would have made more sense to lean into some confusion, but with Clay's theory, there shouldn't be confusion, which makes it difficult because like there's still that kind of human, not quite stumbling, not quite like re-saying the same thing twice kind of a thing. So there's like a weird line that was walked that I think I wish they lean into one or the other.
And that's fair. I could definitely see where you're coming with that, and it would have been nice if they were more human ghost, I guess, just had that, still going on, just like I just did. But it was definitely very straightforward, and I can see how that can take away from a lot of things. But as far as the overall story, like the individual, like what happened, that I enjoyed.
I do feel like also, especially since there's already like 50 episodes, it would probably get pretty tedious if with every ghost they wake up from being dead and they're upset, and then you have to spend the first like 10 minutes being like, chill out, dude, you're dead. Because like, if we're going for realism there, if you wake up from being dead, presumably, and someone's like, hey, you're dead, you're probably going to be upset for a long time. So if we have Clay's, this is part of the necromancy magic, is you've brought the dead person back to life and they're calm and they're sort of like your thrall and you're asking them to tell the story, then that kind of takes out this like, because like my least favorite part in like a horror movie is like there's spooky stuff happening. We don't believe the spooky stuff's happening. You tell somebody and they're like, that's not true. It could be, it's like, can we just skip to the part where we all believe each other and we can fight the ghosts because I'm over all the bickering,
I will say, like, at least on the introductory episode, that would have been nice to enhance the lore more, but I definitely hear you and I agree, like that would be monotonous. I think what I'm running into, because I listened to the 1666 special and then episode 3. I will say of the 4, I liked 1666 special because there was more dynamism throughout, but in terms of like voice acting, I think episode 3 did a lot better. Without spoilers, it is about like an actor, so of course they're like our waiter, but like the voice actor, like whether it was like the natural delivery, like they just used their natural voice, or they took on that persona a bit more, you kind of felt a bit more of that going on, so that helped me stay in it a lot more.
See, going back to an earlier episode where we talked about how did you say it? Surreality? Is that how we called it? Mm-hmm. This felt like it overdid it for me because the ghosts just sounded like they weren't, especially if it's necromancy and they're pulling it from their body parts. I kind of expected like those body parts, like their vocal cords being rough and it's hard to speak or something, but it was just like plain like just talking to somebody. So how did you feel about that?
Especially with the mummified chick and when she asked for water, I feel like, because I've had to do stories where it's like I'm dehydrated or parched and I'll put on a, raspy voice, but you don't want to go too hard because that's just going to get grating after a while to have to hear a certain voice effect throughout the whole thing. My main issue with the voice acting, I don't know if you guys heard it too, but it sounded either like cold reading or like very one take. because there are points where there would be these pauses between words that aren't there for like emphasis or something. And I recognize what it was. It's reaching the end of a line and not knowing what the next word is, and then going to the next line and then picking up the sentence from there. And usually when I do that, if there's like a big pause there and the sentence doesn't sound fluid, I'll go back and re-record the sentence when I know what's happening next. And I noticed that a few times for almost all of the voice actors, where it sounded like these pauses either weren't removed or they weren't allowed another take or something, where I don't know if they had to read the whole thing all at once. But that was the big thing I noticed, where it's like, I don't know if there was just minimal editing here, or if it was all they didn't know they could do one take, or maybe like they were doing it live, you know. But that was the big thing I noticed as far as voice acting.
And see, for me, there was one line. I wish I would have saved it. I apologize, guys. I wish I saved, but there was one line, episode 1, where it sounds like they cut the sentence midway and then stitched another sentence onto it. It was just a real quick, like, and there I was, and then just it jumps into another line. I was like, 2 of those words could have like been removed, make it cleaner. And I don't know if that was intentional, if that was written, but like I like rewound it a few times. Like, this sounds like 2 sentences just got stitched together real quickly and may have like missed the edit on it. So.
I will say that I did notice, like, all is forgiven, because especially if you're just starting out, just like technical things, like lots of like vocal pops.
Oh,
like,
yeah. For Matthew in the first episode, but like only in the beginning.
Yeah.
I feel like it like, so again, that kind of like goes with my one take theory. If they were recording live together and Matthew's voice actor was talking and then he got the note, hey, you're popping. And then he either backed up off the mic or fiddled with his gain or something, because then throughout the rest of it was fine. But like for the first section of him talking, it did not sound like there was a pop filter involved at all. So in that case, I'm wondering, well, why didn't we go and re-record that first part, unless, again, they had to do it all in one take and had to do it live?
When we talk about the effects, I will have thoughts about episode 1.
I was fixing to say. Is there anything, because we like naturally moved from story to voice acting, is there anything else voice acting wise before we move on to production and the direction?
I like Jessica, yeah, my question is like, how much direction was there, and if so, what were the notes? That would be my curiosity.
I will say, as you had your main narrator for your meat of the story, for the ghost talking, I did feel as they got more into the story, it started to feel a lot more natural, as they like started to like understand their character more, and find like a natural rhythm of speaking. And there are some really great moments where they have these funny little lines that they deliver really well. So again, I'm just wondering, was this a cold read? Was it a one take? And it, maybe could have used a little another take a few times,
Don't look at me. I'm not the professional. I just listen to stuff and I enjoy it.
I don't know. I think I saw your name in a recent cast list, Clay.
There are several. I still maintain I'm not a professional.
Are any of us truly?
True.
I'll brag once we cut today's recording. Sorry, listeners. That's for them only, mostly because it's not good. But anyway.
Alrighty. With that, then, we can go ahead and get to production. So what are we thinking about? The effects?
Okay.
Dear God, Alonda.
This is why I really wanted to ask Clay what the evolution was, because things definitely like marked improvement, like in the special in episode 3, but episode 1 I really almost noped out like in the first couple minutes, just because like the effect. In the story there was an effect going on at the very beginning that was rough. That was so rough, and then they explained about like, I want to say 30 seconds into it's like, oh, let me adjust this thing, and we're better.
Oh yeah.
But something about that effect was so
where it was like
harsh
kind of
to my
staticky,
ears.
Right?
Yeah, that I was like, if this keeps going, I can't.
Yeah. Which again feels like another little clue. Like, why are we talking through a static box? Presumably, is this also recorded on something? And Yeah, I'm glad it wasn't throughout the whole thing. I did like throughout when the ghosts are talking, there's like this very gentle, like sort of whirring sound of like the ghost wax recorder thing playing in the background that I was like, oh, that's nice. But then, so.
I already know.
Well, it's a couple things. So in the first one, there was a sound that's played. It was like the clipping, like when it's like I woke up because I heard a clip, and then it plays a little like clip sound, and I was like, okay, that could be like the ghost making a little sound, so you know what's going on. But then later in the story, when the ghost calls his mom, we get a new voice actor for the mom, which sort of broke the immersion for me, because within the meta of this story, this is a ghost sitting here and telling us the story. Why is his mom also here? So that was, I found to be sort of an interesting choice. It's a hard thing to do when you're dealing with found footage. We can get more into that later, to choose how much do you stay in the meta and how much do you just, do extra flares to add diversity and stuff like that. But then in the second one, there was opportunity for other dialogue, but then the ghost is like, and then this guy was like, yeah, next in line, which is more how you would tell a story, and I thought that worked perfectly well there. But then she mentions that the mannequins, when they're trying to get the security guard's attention, are like tapping on the glass, and then we get the sound effect for that tapping, which was, I was wearing headphones for this one, so I was like, oh, don't like that in my ear, that's unsettling. So I was like, okay, it's good because it's a nice creepy sound, but how much sense does that make within the immersion of the story? Or if we're talking about maybe the magic and the lore, maybe they're summoning up these memories, and that's what's recorded on the wax? I don't have my degree in parapsychology. I cannot tell you. I know.
Working on it. Real quick, in our Discord, Izzy was trying to educate us. They used words I don't remember.
Diegetic versus non-diegetic sound.
Thank you, yes. Which is, for those of y'all listening, I didn't know what that was either. Anyway.
Define it for the audience, please.
Apparently, it's sounds that are meant to be heard by those actually in the scene and those heard as for the listeners only. Don't ask me which is which. I'm still learning, even though it's only 2 words. I'm that kind of slow. But I think, like with the mom talking, I was kind of hoping that it was that weird transition between layers of the ghost is telling things and then like we start to fade into the actual story as it was. But that didn't really deliver in the way I thought it was going to.
And would have happened, I feel like, too late in the story, because by that point we're already like nearing the climax. So for them to like fade into the story at that part would have been kind of strange.
You brought up a great point, because I was wondering, I would have liked a better fade, but it was like, would a slow, like you don't notice it until this point work? But I don't think it would. I think, it needs to be in the first 5 minutes of the ghost telling the story. Yeah,
in that case, it's something you need to commit to. You have that background whirring fade out, and then you have like the sound effects of the day fade in, sort of thing. And you need to determine that pretty early on, that's what you're going to do for each story, where it's like, we as listeners understand that this is the ghost telling you the story, but we're given a cinematic experience of the story. But yeah, maybe they do more later on, or maybe they decide not to do more later on, because again, there were other dialogue opportunities in episode 2, but they just had the main ghost narrator read those lines, and I thought that worked perfectly fine because it fit within the meta of what we're supposed to be listening to.
So I have a question. So is cast size a production question? Because for me, I had the one where it's like the first 2 people in episode 1, like lore, was it the same voice actor? And
do you think it was?
I think it was, because for me, like, their voices were so similar. It was so similar. It was like, is it the same one? And then is the mom the voice actor for episode 2?
I also wondered that as well. I was like, maybe they have like such a small cast that they're...
Yeah, which I can forgive. My low light would be like, I didn't really believe the mom character, which that's what pulled me out of the scene. Like, I liked the breakup from the monologue. I was like, okay, cool. It kept me in it, kept me going, but then I couldn't, commit to the world building there.
Like how the mom acted, like responded to her son.
It's hard to.
The writing was very mom-like. The delivery felt more like a younger woman doing an older voice. As someone who's had to do older voices, you're like,
hard.
I don't. Yeah, it is. It's a difficult thing to do an age that you aren't.
Unless you really overshoot the mark and go comedic with it, yeah.
Yeah.
We've been here for 76
Yeah, like
years.
anytime I have to play an old lady, I have an old lady voice that I use all the time in my real life. Does it sound like an actual honest to God old lady? My God, no, it does not.
Which I can that's why I'm asking about the cast size question, because if it's the same people, same core, let's say 5 VAs doing all 50 episodes, that's hard.
Oh yeah.
That's unbelievably. So
That's
like
crazy.
then I could go and be like, that's not even a big deal. But if but I think around the episode 3, their official 3, so after the special, it sounded like maybe they were reaching out to other people to come do vignettes. So that's where I'm like, okay, what are we looking for? And I'm sure it expanded as like, we made it to episode 20. We can get new people to do things,
I do think I actually saw that. So they're in another Discord I'm in, and I do believe they posted that at one point that they were like VA hunting. So should have expanded at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like, again, we listened to the first couple episodes of a podcast. They're still figuring things out. They're still playing with their format, that sort of thing. So it's like, I don't ever want to be like too harsh on anybody's, like, think of our first episode.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember?
No, I know.
Where it's just like, we're so disorganized and it's such a mess. And now we kind of have more of a format and we figured things out and we have a better flow with what we're doing. So maybe in these first couple episodes they're like, let's try messing around with different voice actors within the vignettes. That's a good word for it. Let's try out sound effects and see if we like that. And then maybe later on they fully commit to it, or maybe later on they're like, we don't really like that. So I'm interested to see what later episodes are like.
So maybe this is a good Thousand Island, like leaning towards good Thousand Island, because like, as you're saying, like, I'm of the same mindset of just like, how does this evolve? Like, none of these things are major things. It's just like, I noticed this. It took me out for a second, but then I got back in. I noticed this. Okay.
Yeah, like the story was enough to pull you back in, even when you're like, that was kind of a weird delivery, or like, okay, that was kind of strange. But like, I feel like the actual overarching lore, and then I'm just a sucker for like, here's a weird unexplainable thing. I'm like, do tell me. I don't actually want an explanation. That's would make it so boring. Thank you for just being like, here's a weird thing. I'm like, that's great. Love that.
And it had just enough blood to make me happy too. So that's 2 things I really loved coming together at that point.
You're like, oh hell yeah, her fingers all smashed up. Die, bitch.
So I am curious how Monster of the Week it is, and like, or like, I don't know how to explain this other than like how much like supernatural it is, like the TV show with Ben.
Oh, I thought you meant like just supernatural. I'm like, we're talking to ghosts.
No, Supernatural, the show with Sexy McSexerton and the other dude.
Wait. Pause real quick. I want to know which one you mean, because I have a thought, but I'm very okay. Yeah, acceptable.
Sam, I don't know. Okay. Anyway. So, Supernatural does pull from real world. Like, Kalia was in it. Like, angels are in it. This is in it. So with this show, I love that they don't reveal what the monster is, and I'm hoping for a payoff that is like, it is this monster from this lore, and some original stuff. Right, like, what is this invisible thing? Right, like, what is this thing taking their like not identity, but like attention away?
The
like,
doppelganger.
What is the shroud? Yeah, like, is it a doppelganger or is it something unique? I'm hoping it's pulling from classic, at least to start, and then original.
See, and I go the other direction just because of the Reclaimer himself. I'm like, this seems like some great lore building, like I would use for a TTRPG. I kind of want it to be whole cloth, just made up, just absolutely to.
Real talk. I was like, this is Animate Dead the show.
Like, yeah. But yeah, just like, and of course I'm only 2 episodes in.
Sorry, speak to the dead.
We have a long way to go. But, like, if we start finding out there is another faction because he is the last of the Reclaimers, well, stories have taught us there's got to be, you know, the opposing side somewhere. And we kind of hint at, you know, the Nameless and all the other things like that. I'm kind of hoping for that. Some type of supernatural warfare going on behind the curtains.
That would be my guess as well. And also, we are seeing some things that connect these seemingly disparate circumstances. I don't know what happens in episode 3, but so far our ghosts have been people who have been... They've both mentioned they don't have a lot of friends. They're kind of lonely in life. They feel stuck in life. So I wonder if that's kind of like you have these creatures that are like seeking out people who already feel invisible, who already feel forgotten, and then they sort of emphasize that or feed on that. Or if there's a reason they're picking these specific people and it's not as random as we think it is.
So the true moral of the story is call up your friends, go to that show, go to that bar, go out there and touch grass.
Yeah. But then I have to go outside.
Just put the cat on a leash. You'll be fine.
I would if I could.
My cats cannot do leashes. We tried. We're like, they'll be adventure cats, and they were like,
What about the backpacks with the little bubble?
Oh.
I think they could do that.
if I got like an actual baby sling for one of them that just wants to be carried around and breathe in my face, he would just be so happy. But his breath he has stomatitis, so his like mouth is rotting. So he's so sweet. He just wants to cuddle and be directly in your face and lick you and be directly in your face and give you little like love bites. And you're like, I have to wash my whole body now. Thank you.
Oh, little baby.
Yeah.
Okay. On that note,
On the stomatitis note?
Where else? Where else?
yeah, I thought it'd be a good spot. So let's take a breather before we move on. Does anyone else have any final thoughts production-wise before we move on to our general topic? Okay. So as we prepare for our next topic, please enjoy the 60-second reset.
The voices of the void speak to me. They tell me that this 60-second reset is brought to you by the makers of Killer in a Can. Killer in a Can is fast and easy to use for those spontaneous sprees that you just can't shake. You can choose from a line of killers, slashers, monsters, demons, whatever you can think of from your worst nightmare, they've probably got it. Just pop the top and aim at the victim and watch your killer spring to life. Ready for blood. Killer in a Can. The devastation is in the palm of your hands.
Bravo. Bravo.
Clay's so happy there.
I am.
order-
I'm imagining Michael Myers coming out like the pistachio snake. in a can.
Yep, exactly.
Is this where I can order my 12-pack of ginger werewolves? Because I'm into this.
Yes, that's the next line they'll be working on. Yes, for
And
sure.
Alante was never heard from again. But we know he's in a better place.
Aw.
Alrighty, so we just wrapped up our discussion on episodes 1 and 2 of Ghost Wax. We liked the story, but just the delivery and the production left us a little wanting. Left us in that Thousand Island dressing limbo.
We're just in the dressing out here.
Wow.
We're just in the dressing. We're not
Oh,
in
man.
the pickle jar. We're in the dressing. But kind of piggybacking off of Jessica bringing up like that line to ride with found footage. This was found footage. So general topic, found footage we all know is kind of evolving as tech evolves, but we see, like with this one, that the tech could always go backwards too. So just kind of, what do we feel about found footage still as a genre and how it's evolving and what makes it good and what makes it questionable?
I think what makes it really work is it lets you have variable sizes to the episode. I think this show in particular might have benefited if it was 15 minutes and then a new character, and then like, all right, let's resume this session, and then a continuation. Like, hit a good high point, maybe leave it off, and then continue it in another point.
I like found footage because to me it's intentional. Everything that's going on is intentional to some degree, whether you're lost in the woods as our Great Blair Witch, or you're being chased by something unknown, Cloverfield. But everything that's being done is like the person there is intentionally part of whatever's going on, good, bad, what have you. And I like that as opposed to just being, these things happened and we happen to be the observer somehow. This thing was sought after by some means.
So for me with found footage, I like found footage because you get to do some really creative things. But it really hinges on if you stay within the meta of what you say you're doing. Like if you're like, oh, this is all coming from like a cell phone recording, and then you have someone recording and they just happen to pick up like these things. It's like, why were you recording at this point? Or something like that, where you're like, okay, but who's holding the camera here? Like I remember, there was like one movie, it was somewhat recent. It was like billed as like a sequel to something that was found footage, and then it had nothing to do with that actual plot line.
Cloverfield Lane?
No, it was something else. Maybe it was Cloverfield something.
Cloverfield in space?
There's like a cult involved. I don't remember exactly, but the whole thing is like, I think it's supposed to be like this documentary crew and they're going to go talk to this cult or whatever. But at some point, somebody else is filming, like they're doing like you see the cameraman talking to like the reporter chick, and you're like, okay, if the cameraman isn't filming, who's filming right now? We haven't even got to the scary part yet. It's not like a hint that like, oh, something's following them or whatever. It's like, okay, if we're gonna commit to this documentary style format, we need to commit to the documentary style format, which was kind of again the issue in like the first episode of Ghost Wax, where it's like, are we committing to this being a straightforward recording? In which case, why do we have another voice actor here? But coming from an editorial perspective, like when I get something that's found footage from submissions that I need to mark up for audio, there is the choice you have to make, where it's like, do I add other voice actors to this and sound effects, or do I leave it completely raw? And that usually depends on the nature of the story itself. Like if there's like a lot of dialogue without like he said, she said tags, where it's just like in writing, it makes sense that you can see that these are separate bits of dialogue. But in audio, it's going to be one person saying dialogue right after the other. I'm like, okay, we need another voice actor here. But in this case, I feel like we could have just gone like with one voice actor. Again, unless it's part of like the magic and the lore that you can like just like summon memories of the deceased. But we haven't really gotten far enough to know if that's the case yet.
So is the recording device just a device, or is it a character? Because I think what I'm trying to like think about while we're sitting here, and you reminded me that I love Cloverfield, is that like the device was the character. Like it was handed off in various situations to other characters. But the best payoff was kind of this like the characters died, but then you see like something running across the screen. You finally see the whatever, So I think I'm wondering with Ghost Wax, by the name alone, I will just speak for me, that I was expecting the device to be a character, but currently it's just a device. And 2 episodes is not enough time it's not enough time to develop that. But I think maybe that is one of my core, what I'm rubbing up against.
So you want to see more, I guess, movement maybe? I'm trying to think of the right word here. More like we're moving the recorder around, we're moving our frame of reference. We are attached to the Ghost Wax, and that is our frame of reference. As opposed to like, here's our prologue where they get together, recording, and then epilogue, essentially.
I would have loved a stinger where it just accidentally kept recording. Like that's what I'm like leaning towards. Like exactly what you're saying. Like that is our only way to get into this world. I think the beginning and end setup is unless they made it clear with a beep, like like cello letters or something where it's that we are a camera looking at the ghost wax. We're not a part of the ghost wax.
And I think that's exactly where we are, because if you have, the phonograph, if we were to be playing it back, you would have that very distinct sound that's going to come from the classic recordings. Exactly. Don't ask me to describe it, but anyone who's listened to really old media knows exactly what I'm talking about. And since we don't have that, I think that's what separates, the wax cylinder from being the character. We are observing this. He is saving these for some reason. Who knows? Maybe just research. But I almost am happy about that, because I've heard that sound and I enjoy that sound in doses.
Oh, yeah.
Now imagine the entire episode having that to it the entire time.
Or just that, I will say that could be good in the sense that, like, they already established that they were cleaning up some audio, or like something was on a wrong setting and they fixed it.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe if it like glitched out during the monologue, and then the character could be like, wait a second, like, let me fix this. Or like it glitches out at this like really important moment where it's like the killer's name, right? And you're like, mother, that would have added more intrigue for me.
They do have like the gentle recording sound in the background where it's nice, because it's like, oh, it's obviously like, it puts you in there without being overbearing, and that is so hard to do with a continual sound effect, to have it be noticeable but not annoying to have to keep playing. So I think they did a really good job with that, as far as having like a recording noise to be like, okay, this is the part that's being recorded, without it being like obnoxious and in your face. Because like, again, that's another thing with like, when doing something found footagey, you're limited, which can lead to a lot of interesting creative decisions, but it can also be like, okay, well, how do I get this next part of the story out? And it's like, obviously they're not going to have the ghost recorder on while they're in the car, so we have to break out of the recording section. So I guess I'm trying to decide if this is actually found footage, if I would qualify it as that, or if it's just us being around while found footage is being created,
I would go with the latter on that.
Yeah.
And who knows, 50 episodes, maybe later it turns into, I don't think so, but it could. But yeah, I think we're watching potential found footage being made.
I also wanted to ask, how did you guys, I listened on speakers, so how did you guys listen to it? I think Jessica was a headphone?
I started, again, I do it while I'm doing laundry, so I was started on my phone, just playing while I was doing laundry, and I kept having to like walk away, and I'm like, I can't hear what they're saying, and I had to like kept going back and like rewinding, and then my husband's like, we have headphones, and I'm like, we do. So then he got me headphones, and I was like, okay, so that I could do laundry and actually hear what was happening. So yeah, that's how I listened to it.
How did you listen to it, Clay?
My computer system, no headphones, just straight speakers.
He's like in the computer.
Because I'm wondering for this, like, were there things that I missed because speakers aren't as sensitive? Like, you don't get surround sound? Or
the
like,
tapping of the mannequins was really creepy in headphones. That was like, okay. I was like, I get we're like breaking the meta here for there to be this tapping, but it's effective. I was like, ooh, we don't like that.
I think that speaks to this. They're walking this line, and we, the audience, want them to choose one or the other.
Yeah, I think that's probably my main takeaway.
Yeah, because like I was listening on speakers, which means you're losing a lot of like super quiet stuff, super low stuff, some high stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So because it was so monologue-y, I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I think it's great. That can be great. That it doesn't force you to want to wear headphones. So if they are making choices like that, and I missed the tapping completely.
Oh.
Like really?
I picked up on the nail clipping. I think there was some sound effects that like I was like, I should rewind and make sure I heard what I thought I heard. But the nature of like not a lot of variance made it great for speakers for me, which I'm now realizing from you guys talking that I'm losing on some of the content. So
There wasn't too much in terms of like sound effects, so it was just again, it was just like a little creepy moment that it's enhanced if it's directly in your ear holes.
And that's probably what it is. Again, in my opinion, the show is good. The small details will make it great. And
yeah, I guess that's it. There's the potential for greatness here, you know. And I'd like to see where I probably should just like skip ahead and listen to like the most recent episode to see what's going on there. But yeah, like I'm interested in the lore. I'm interested in these characters because they clearly have secrets. I'm interested to see how all these things connect and stuff. It's just the little quibbles I have right now. Again, it's a podcast finding its footing. I can't be like, oh, this is bad, you know, or anything like that.
We can always do a follow-up.
Let us know in the comments if you'd like us to return to this series.
Or
That'd be
even
interesting.
better, what is the one episode that's like, this is amazing?
Oh yeah,
That's what I want. That's what I want from there's so many of the episodes where I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna keep listening to it to see if it gets better. Or like, does it get better? Like, tell me, give me that one. Like, if you had to give that one episode that's like, yes, and if you don't like this, you don't like the show. That's what I want.
See,
comment those.
I think that's going to be difficult just because this is a serialized, from what we can tell so far, a serialized show. And so, like, what's that great episode? But doesn't give away plot points yet. So it's going to be, we've seen they do specials. We saw the 1666. So hopefully there's a really good special, you know?
Alrighty. So anything else? Or is that about
I want to know
it?
what you thought, Ashley.
I
Put you in
was
the hot
liking it
seat.
because of the lore the most. I just want to see how that develops. I'm there to sit along with the monotone delivery, just to find out if we get more, like slowly peeling out those layers like an onion, just slowly getting to what who is the Nameless and all the other things happening right now. If I listen to 50 episodes and I get nothing, I'm not going to be happy.
Okay. How would you feel, though, about an episode that's like, so far it's all it is, I'm just going to call them ancillary characters, but if, like, one of the reclaimers or was one of the meat spirits, right? Like, how would you feel?
that'd be cool.
I want to know how that works. And again, this is because my whole frame of supernatural necromancy is through Laurel K. Hamilton books. Shout out to anybody who knows Anita Blake series. But her view on necromancy, if you're a necromancer and somebody tries to raise you, you're like murderous instead of just like a regular zombie that can come back and talk. So I would be interested in kind of like what if there's anything special about a reclaimer coming back. Because like what makes them special to begin with that they're able to do the necromancy? Is it only ritualistic magic, or does it have to be like a psychic talent for you to be born with? Which I think the latter is the case here, right? Like he's the last reclaimer.
Yeah, and
Which
he's got
makes me think, too,
something
is
weird
it a
going on.
bloodline? Yeah.
Yeah, but he's teaching the young guy to do it, right? That's the implication, or is he just the chauffeur? Is he like an apprentice, or is he like an assistant?
It's felt like an assistant, but
I feel like at the beginning he's like, "You're not ready for this yet. I'll take this one." Isn't? I feel like that's what it said in the first episode. So
Yeah.
maybe Luca will eventually. Maybe Von Sid dies, then Luca has to raise him and is like, "Homie, what is going on here?
Well,
Who
didn't
took
he
your
also
toenails?"
talk about like Luke being able to set it up for him and then just not be there for the rest of it?
Oh, that
So I
could
wasn't sure if it was
or-
really.
maybe like you can't have multiple people in the same room. Like maybe that faffs it.
I want to see what happens when they reclaim a monster.
Oh, see,
I
there's
want
so many
this-
fun little ways
I
things
want
could
this.
do.
I want like if the first X episodes have the same entity feasting, I want to hear it from the monster side.
I want that lore. If Luke is meant to be like the trainee, I want to hear more about you can't deal with these types, or this is what happens when you work with these types, things like that.
See, and this is why I'm loving this. There's so many questions being asked already. I mean, we didn't even... Episode 2, rewind a little bit. How did she die?
She got slashed with a mannequin to the neck.
No, okay, sorry. I guess I assumed she was dead before that when no one's... Like, okay, so how did she become invisible to the world, you know?
Yeah.
It just
That's
kind
what
of
I
like
thought, too.
ran
I thought
by
she was already
that.
dead.
I
And
thought
what-
she was already a spirit listening to it. I was like,
Yeah, because then she couldn't leave the mall. Like, we have all these questions, and like they're not answering the questions in the way that makes me happy. Let me make that clear. I'm happy with how they're not answering questions, I guess I should say.
I like that we're just getting like little hints, little bits of lore at a time. It really like, you really want to keep listening, especially to those like prologue and epilogue moments where it's like you get your little bits of the world building and then you're like, okay, let's settle in for the ghost, and then it's like, and then you get more of the lore and you can start piecing it together. So I like the pacing of it quite a bit.
Okay, because that was going to be my question, though. Like, is not this show in particular, but is the format successful? Like, if what myself, the listener, wants is the beginning and the end, does that mean that the show in totality, the episode in totality, is successful? If I'm kind of like, you know, picking off the fat or the, you know, the sinew of the chicken wing. It was a good chicken wing, but I just wanted like the meat, because I hate boneless wings. I mean, I love boneless wings. I hate boned wings. Fight me.
Alante, I have so many problems with.
I cannot stand chicken wings.
Have you had good chicken wings? Because if they're like nice and crispy, then it is far superior to a boneless chicken wing. If it's like soggy and like you're like chewing on fat for 5 minutes, disgusting. Throw it
gristle,
away.
that's the word I was looking for.
Gristle.
I cannot.
Yeah,
like,
but if you have a good chicken wing, then it needs to be on the wing.
Alante, there's a bar down the road from me that does dill pickle buffalo wings. I'm getting an order tonight. Just
Why would you ruin perfectly good chicken?
Oh, that's great. But basically what you're saying is, if you're more interested in the wraparound than the actual vignettes in the story, is the story successful? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. My roundabout way.
I mean, I can see that if you'd rather just have your answers already and you're not really interested in, like... Because, again, we don't know how connected the actual, like, ghost recordings are to the overall world. Are we going to get answers? Are these going to relate back to our main characters anyway? Or are they just, like, little things that we can forget and move on from? Like, you know? We don't know yet. We simply don't know.
But we're gonna find out.
Clay will find out. Probably by next week, he'll be like, yeah, so I listened to all 50 episodes. I joined the Patreon. Best friends with the creator now. Anyway.
I mean, the odds are high. It's not impossible.
Fairly probable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to your future review.
Awesome. Alrighty. Anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess just final thoughts. I'm interested in the lore. A few quibbles with some production and voice acting stuff, but I don't know what's going on behind the scenes for me to make any, like, value judgments or anything. But, like, overall, I think the format's cool. I think the story's cool. And I really, really want to know what the overarching deal is.
So I know we threw a few questions out, like, that would be to the showrunner. Are there any other questions we would pose to the showrunner? I think Alante, you had your question around direction, if there was any direction. If there was, what was it? Anything else?
Would you, like in retrospect, would you have made episodes shorter? Would you have made the vignettes longer or shorter? Would you have made the wraparound bits longer or shorter? Like, yeah. I'm curious what, especially 50 episodes in, you definitely have thoughts of your own work. You definitely have, like, I could have done this better. I could have dropped this. I could have added this. I want to know what their self-critique is, because that's going to be evident in their journey, in their episodes. Yeah.
Jessica, Clay, you have any questions?
I suppose, yeah, just the overall recording process. If it was people were doing cold reads, if they only had one take, because that might explain some things going on. Just more of like what the behind the scenes was like, and if they did decide that they liked, if they felt confined, I guess, by the meta of having it to be recordings, if they would have preferred to have like a fully acted cast. Just sort of stuff in that regard.
I think that's really excellent. Did they feel confined?
Yeah.
My question has nothing really to do with the production value of the story, like that. a long time ago, I was part of a podcast that was designed and built entirely out of spite. Again, I'll tell you afterwards. Yeah, it's a powerful motivator. I believe our words were, we can do this better, harder, and on more drugs. So with...
How many more drugs?
Several. Because of, like, the framework, the style, like, it seems like this definitely has a lot of Magnus Archives and its genetics and the way it's kind of shaped. I am curious if this was, because when I did the interview with Jamie from Cell Letters, which y'all should go listen to, he was talking about, like, he started off because he's like, oh, I listened to Magnus Archives, I could do this, and then I didn't do it. This show, I'm like, is this a gauntlet being thrown? Because if so, one, it's impressive, and two, I think they did it really well. Like, was this a direct challenge, or did somehow this person know nothing about the Magnus Archives and just, this is the tuning fork that works?
When did this come out? When was the first episode?
October 2022.
October 2022. Because I wonder, like, because the Grey Rooms had a similar plot, right? Where it's all stories from people who have died. And that show ended up not continuing. So I wonder if it was like, oh, I would have wanted more of the Grey Rooms, but the Grey Rooms doesn't exist anymore, so I'll make my own Grey Rooms, you know?
Also a great motivator. But no, that's it. I'm just curious, was it intentional to be like something we've heard in the past, even though they're doing it on their own, in their own way, and doing it really well?
Yeah, it's a good one.
And do you agree that boneless wings are the best?
It's just like you
take your large chicken nuggets and you get the hell out of here.
Like, you just find ways. You're like, how can I be divisive and inflammatory?
How is that inflammatory when it's correct?
Do we need to talk about pizza? Do we need to bring up pizza and all our opinions on pizza? Shall we set the comment section aflame?
Or no pineapple?
Pineapple.
Yeah, pineapple.
Oh, hey, at least we're finally aligned on something.
And I eat ketchup on my hot dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Okay.
Sorry, not on that one.
What? No on the ketchup? Okay.
Okay, no.
The ketchup is where you draw the line.
Yeah. Mustard, preferably spicy mustard, onions, peppers, or just a good old chili cheese dog, like a nasty
Are
chili
you
cheese
Sonic
dog.
the Hedgehog?
We
hit him, wings come out.
I'm here for it.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and wrap up. That wraps up today's discussion. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Hear It in Horror podcast. If you haven't already, we hope you give Ghost Wax a listen and tell us what you think. Or if you have a horror podcast you think we should review, we'd love to hear from you. If you're listening from YouTube, just comment below. Or if you're listening from a podcast streaming app, you can find a link to listen to Ghost Wax or submit a suggestion in the show notes. Next time, Next time, we'll be discussing Divine Calamity. Until then, this episode ends, but the horrors keep playing. Bye! Ashley here, reminding you to check us out on Patreon, where you can get early access to episodes and, when you join, are automatically invited to all the recording sessions. Follow us on Instagram at Hear It in Horror Podcast for all the updates. Hear It in Horror Podcast is brought to you by Dabbed in Ink. Here, adventure.